What's up everybody, Mike here, and in this video I've got even more huge details that have came out about Tides of Annihilation. Now before I get into that, I gotta say, man, this is how you reveal a game, and this has a lot of buzz around it. It looks so freaking cool. Said before, I think in the first video I made about it, that it kind of gives me vibes of like, Devil May Cry, a little bit of God of War mixed in. I'm not sure if it's gonna be like Souls-like in any type of way, but very flashy combat, very reminiscent of like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, you know, and very like epic kind of cinematic sort of like fight scenes as well too. Not entirely sure how the big knights are going to work that are basically like colossi or giants or kaijus. I'm not sure how that's going to work as far as the combat goes there, but man, it's very exciting, and I feel this is definitely a great way to reveal a game and how you're supposed to reveal a game, not just do a cinematic only type of announcement teasing us with that, not actual gameplay. No, this actually mixed in gameplay and cinematic stuff. Plus, in this video right now you're checking out, they also dropped a like 11 minute, 12 minute sort of like gameplay walkthrough that showed even more action about the game. So that's playing right now as I talk about the news here in this video, and I hope you enjoy that. But yeah, coming off from an interview that WCCF Tech did with the devs of Tides of Annihilation. They finally were able to publish their interview with them that gives us even more details about the games that some of you guys might have been wondering about, from bosses to how long the game is going to be, how many weapons we can use the game, etc. So let's dive into this. The first question asked here is, Tides of Annihilation looks amazing. Is the combat more like Devil May Cry / Bayonetta or like Souls-like games? And they respond back with, the combat gameplay is definitely more like Devil May Cry. Unlike most Souls-like titles, we also have difficulty mode selection. From the concept, we have implemented fairly simple controls for those players who would like to actually play action games without being hardcore users. Honestly, that is a very good thing. It definitely feels like for the past, I want to say maybe decade, maybe not full decade, but maybe like 5 to 10 years, a lot of the gaming space, and rightfully so, because what's From Software has done with Souls games franchise, with Dark Souls Trilogy, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, as well as recently Elden Ring. Like, it just feels like a lot of games coming out now, not every single one, but a lot are just Souls-likes in some way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the action games or the action hack and slash kind of went away and got replaced by Souls-likes, in a sense. And don't get me wrong, we're still going to get Souls-likes and we're still going to get action games, but this feels like sort of like an action game renaissance or resurgence here. We're starting to get more of these action hack and slash games back. This one being one of them, because we don't have a new Devil May Cry, right? I don't know what's going to happen with that series, with the original or the creator on the last one leaving Capcom. So I'm not sure what's going on with Devil May Cry going forward with that. We're getting a new Ninja Gaiden this year, which is also helping with the action hack and slash genre coming back in a big way. We got the remaster or remake of the second game. This dropped, a sleeper dropped very recently. And then we got this game in development. We got Phantom Blade Zero, looks amazing. Lost Soulside coming out later this year as well, which seems to be another like action hack and slash with some RPG elements to it as well, or at least a blend of the two. So it's very exciting times. Plus Onimusha, Way of the Sword, it's coming out next year. And I think this is honestly a great time for action hack and slash to, come back, be more mainstream than it's ever had before. And we get some new IPs as well as get some established IPs that are getting sequels. Like I mentioned, Onimusha's back. It's a fantastic time right now, I feel like, when it comes to this genre coming back in a big way. So next question here that they ask is, do you have any role-playing game elements in the game, like leveling up, And they respond, yeah, definitely. We have levels and skill trees, but it's not too heavy on that, like an action RPG or Souls-like game. So that's good. Nothing wrong with that by any means. This is definitely going to be probably more people's alley anyway too, so I don't have to think as hard about like what kind of build or playthrough they want to do in terms of gameplay, and what weapons or other things they want to incorporate in their play style. So honestly, just let the gamer go in, have some fun, make them feel powerful, but not super powerful until like maybe they progress through the game and then get new abilities, things like that, and new weapons, or that just can be fun, and not necessarily weapons that are better, but more so just play a different. So very cool stuff there. I'm all for that, honestly, because not everything needs to be a Souls-like these days. I know we got a lot of Souls-likes, and that's been like a big trendy thing in the gaming space and industry. And they're, some companies are trying to blend Souls-likes with other type of genres, from like roguelikes to other things. Not everything needs to be that. Ian, this is coming from a guy who's a big Souls like fan, but not everything needs to be a Souls like, even though I love the genre. So the next question here, can you get better equipment? Uh, they answer yes, but actually, the outfit in the game doesn't really have a positive effect for players because they're just aesthetic. But yes, we have some armor to collect. So this sounds something like a Stellar Blade type of like thing here. This might be akin to that in a way, in terms of like, at least when it comes to like the armors or costumes that the character can have in the game. So nothing wrong with that by any means. Yeah, collect them, make them, that's fine with me all day. They asked next, will the game be released simultaneously on all platforms? And the devs respond with, ideally, we'd like to do that. So that's interesting that they say, ideally, we'd like to do that because they're not confirming that 100% they will. Now, this could mean a few different things here. This could mean maybe they're trying to prep this game for the Switch 2 that's supposed to be coming out later this year, because this game, I don't think it's coming out until maybe next year. So it seems like they want to hit maybe the PlayStation system, Xbox, PC, and Switch 2, possibly all day one. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be an exclusivity deal with one of these companies. I don't know. I would hope not. And then also you got to consider if it's not exclusivity deal, or if it's not, maybe they're going to hold off, and the Switch 2 could be a factor. The other thing too is maybe the Xbox Series S is a factor, because I know it's been a lot of an issue for some developers to get their games on Xbox platforms. That's why partially Black Myth Wukong is not there on Xbox, because they are struggling with trying to develop it for the Xbox Series S, and Microsoft essentially put themselves in a hole or whatever the heck with that by making those two consoles, Xbox Series X and S, and requiring games that are made for their platforms to run on both, their systems. So they're forcing devs to make, essentially downgrade or downscale their game to work for the lesser power system as well as the more powerful system. And that's just, not every dev can do that. Black Myth Wukong couldn't. Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios eventually got it to work. There's some other games that have been able to get it to work, obviously, but not every dev's going to be able to do that. So there's that factor. So them saying this is possibly one of those three reasons or factors that are probably playing into why they responded like this. Then the combat system of Devil May Cry is all about devil arms. Will Tides of Annihilation also feature different playstyles? And they simply answer yes. And then how many weapons are in the game? 4. So 4, straightforward answer, not a lot of weapons variety. Kind of interesting though, they only went with 4. With this type of game, yeah, you don't want necessarily too little, but you don't want to say too many either. This takes me back to like Bayonetta, for example, and like Devil May Cry games, where with Dante, I would say I think you get up to like maybe 5 different weapons with him in most of the games, if not all the games. Bayonetta, kind of a similar type of case. We can get like, I think 4 or 5 as well. So yeah, I think maybe 4 or 5 is probably that sweet spot for these action hack and slash type games when it comes to 4 different types of weapon variety. Not necessarily one's weapon stronger than the other. It's just they play different ways. Heck, I recently went through Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which I believe at this time still got the Let's Play going up on my channel. And that game has like 7 or so different weapons, something like that. 7 or 8. So I think, I would say 4 is probably, I would say the minimum sweet spot. And then probably the most, yeah, maybe 7 different weapons. That's probably the highest sweet spot for like an action hack and slash type of game. Nothing wrong with that at all. And the fact that there's going to be different playstyles is good. That's very good. You want to cater to, at least to some degree, people's different playstyles. So that way you're not going to please everybody, but maybe you'll get most of your audience into it. Next up, they ask, can you share which one? So they answer back with, we have fists, swords, and bows. And sorry, I forgot the 4th one. So I'm not sure that was intentional there. I'm not telling us the 4th one. Maybe they want to tease that for later on, but the fact we're getting fists, we can give enemies, them hands, basically. Swords kind of feel standard there. Cool with the swords. Bows for some range, because you definitely got to at least have a range option, at least one ranged option, Having a couple like close range options is good, like swords and fists. So I'm wondering what the 4th could be, if that's maybe another ranged option, or a maybe mid-range type of option where like bows is like your, long range possibly option. And then maybe the 4th is like an in between. I don't know. Or a hybrid where it can do, close up melee as well as some mid range. We'll have to wait and see what that might be in the future. Next up, they ask, why did you choose the Western setting? So the devs say, here is some context. This game and Black Myth Wukong are two projects invested in by Tencent, and there were different expectations set on these two projects. Black Myth Wukong targeted the Chinese market, but for this project, we targeted a Western audience. So we chose the Arthurian Legends. The origin of this project was when the producer came up with the concept surrounding knights. And then we made the connection with the Knights of the Round Table from Arthurian myths. The reason we reached out to you guys at this early stage is that the target audience is Western, and this is our first title. So we want to, gather as much feedback as we can to just improve the game for the final version. Okay, nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I did forget that this is a new development company, but it's apparently owned by Tencent, or at least invested by Tencent. But you got heavy investment from Tencent. Black Myth Wukong, they mentioned here, is a being one that's invested by Tencent with two different games, two different directions as far as those go. So shedding some light on that and their direction, why they decided to do this. And honestly, cool with me. To me, there's not a lot of, King Arthur lore type of games out there. There's like some, but there's not like a ton, I don't think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I don't think there is a overall ton of these. And I'm all for Arthurian legends and lore, King Arthur lore. I'm down with that. From shows to movies to video games, anime, I'm all for it. I love the mythology of that stuff. And usually it's always like a good storytelling if done right, or good messages and that stuff. So this is very cool and a different take as well on the Arthurian legend lore and myths. So I'm all for it. Let's see what happens with it. Could be really good, could be really awful from a story standpoint, character and writing. I don't know yet. Gameplay already looks pretty freaking good though. So I'm all for it. And then, can you share the game's current development progress? So they say now we are still in the alpha stage. At the end of this year, 2024, okay, we are going into the beta phase with a tentative launch window of 2026. Again, we're very much in the early dev phases where we are still getting feedback. So this is all subject to change. They say at the end of this year, 2024, they don't say fiscal year, but I mean, it's already 2025. I guess maybe this interview was taking place late last year or something like that. Maybe November, December is when this took place, possibly. As far as the actual interview, but they couldn't wait, or they were under embargo and couldn't publish it until after, the revealed state of play. So that's a possibility there, or maybe the devs misspoke and meant fiscal year. I don't know, because end of 2024 fiscal year would be end of March of this year, I believe. So yeah, or 2025. I don't know. I forget how stuff works sometimes. But gathering feedback's important. I think so far they're on the right direction, right path as far as what they're doing overall with it. So looking forward to seeing what else they do with this new game, new IP. They're trying to, create a franchise out of, more than likely. WCCF Tech then asks, you talked about potentially expanding the franchise to other settings and mythologies. I know that's far away now, but would you still have the same character going into these other settings, or would it be more like an anthology series where the main character is different each game? That's a good question. They respond, we would change the protagonist, but we would still want to use the outworld invasion concept that we're using it for Tides of Annihilation. So it sounds like they're trying to do something similar to what the devs of Black Myth Wukong want to do, because the devs of Black Myth Wukong essentially want to do the same thing, where they want to create this like universe, or sort of like this MCU like type universe where this Black Myth universe of different mythologies and whatnot. So they're not necessarily going to stay with Wukong. They're going to create other stuff too. And it sounds like this team is trying to do the same, if not similar thing, but have different protagonists. So we'll see how that works out for them. Cool with that. They don't necessarily have to stick to King Arthur lore, mythology. They can always mess around with other stuff and see how that works out for them. Let's just hope that each game is good, at least very good, like a 7 out of 10, like very good, at least, or 8 out of 10, type of rating across the board, and just a lot of fun to play. And then the last two here, do you already have an estimate of the game's length? They respond, there should be over 30 hours of gameplay on average. Nice. And then how many bosses will there be in the game? Over 30 each with their own abilities. Players will have to prepare for very challenging boss fights. That is very, very good. Exciting right there. So this action game, which is going to have some light RPG elements, is already going to be over 30 hours of gameplay. on average, or average playthrough, it sounds like they're talking about. And now that could always change. It's still early development. They could cut down on that a bit, or they could make it longer. Who knows? It depends on how much side content they add as well too. But if they're just talking maybe just gameplay, and they're not mentioning story, they're not mentioning side content. They're just talking about hours of gameplay on average, is over 30. So this could encompass both main story and side content, which means maybe the main story is maybe 20 hours, 25 hours. We'll have to wait and see if that actually is revealed later on. Over 30 bosses, though, each with their own abilities. So I'm hoping each of them also have different movesets, not just different abilities. They're not just like, a copy and paste type of thing, or like a variation of a boss you've beaten before, just new abilities, because honestly, that is somewhat lazy development, in my opinion, like lazy dev design or whatever. We've had that many times on the games, and it's just not always a good thing. Like each boss should feel unique. Each boss should leave a memory in a player's brain of like, man, that was such a crazy fight that I went through. Holy hell, or something like that. Or maybe it's like a memory of like, oh man, that boss fight was just really, really bad. I'm glad I ain't gotta deal with it again. You just move on to the next one that has a unique gimmick or whatever the heck have you, and be different, in terms of design and its moveset and patterns. So very good stuff here, guys. I know this is a little bit longer video I'd made, but I'm just excited to bring you news about this. I'm glad action hack and slash games are making a comeback. They are not gone. This is also, again, it's being powered by Unreal Engine 5. It's in development for PC and consoles with a tentative 2026 launch window as of right now. And so it's action adventure, game as far as genre. In terms of like the settings like that, it's London. That leaves protagonist Gwendolyn as the only survivor. Fortunately, she discovers the ability to command the legendary Knights of the Round Table from Arthurian myths with this power, and she sets out to save her sister, discover the truth about her origins, and save not just London, but the fantasy realm of Avalon too. And with this gameplay, you guys been watching as I've been talking, another thing that strikes me is like the way that the knights are used. It almost feels like a JoJo stand from the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like they feel like kind of like stands in a way, where you call upon them with a button, or maybe a couple buttons, or a combination of buttons. I don't know. I'm not sure how it exactly works yet. We don't know yet, but this is my speculation. It just the way it looks and the way it's incorporated into the combat. Yeah, you maybe do one quick button press or a couple button press combinations and call them in. They're like a JoJo stand in a sense, where they help you out with like one or a few attacks while in combat. And hey, I'm all for that. All right, I am definitely all for that. So what do you guys think about this? I want to hear from you. Does this get you more excited for the game, knowing these new details? Do you feel action hack and slash has been gone for a long time, and like Souls-likes kind of like took over or whatever, or replaced them for a long time, kind of like how I feel, and now they're just making a resurgence more and more so now? Let me know how you feel about that. And loving these new details. I will definitely be keeping my eyes on this and keep you guys updated with new information I find out, because even though I mostly cover RPGs here, I do like to cover games that generally keep me interested or get my interest that I want to check out when they come out. So yeah, stay tuned for more on this when I do find out more information, guys. If you enjoyed this and found this helpful, please hit a like, subscribe if you're new. My name's Mike, and I'll see you in the next video.